All right, so yeah, we're going to end with 3 tips that guarantee a finish of PBP. And as I tell everyone, they're going to come looking for you
Oh my gosh, to
if
guarantee
things.
a
So
finish.
no
Yes.
pressure, okay? Okay, tip number
Okay.
1.
Well, the first one you already mentioned, your time off the bike is more important than on the bike. I would say
Okay.
almost nobody rides more than 60, 65 hours on the bike in PvP. And the difference between somebody who does it in 70 hours is that they spend 5 or 6 hours off the bike, and the one who does it in 90 hours spends 25 hours off the bike. And the less stressed you are about time, the more enjoyable it becomes, of course. So you should shoot for a 75-hour time so that you have, people say time in the bank, but there's some truth to that, where I have had friends who finished in 89 hours and 59 minutes and 59 seconds or something like that.
It's
And
stressful,
I
yeah.
saw him at the finish and he doesn't remember seeing me. He
Yeah.
was out of it because basically the last 20 hours or so were a constant just race against the clock. He was out of the time limit at some control, and the volunteer said, "You must continue." And of course, he was
Yeah.
glad about that. But I think minimizing your time off the bike, because it's so easy to think, oh, I have plenty of time and do, whatever things, write in your journal or something like that. Don't.
Yeah.
Basically, when you get to the control, you should, this is advice number 2. That's why I get through them quickly.
Okay.
Plan your control before you get there.
Yeah.
Think about, what do I want to buy? Every control has pretty much the same food. What do I want to buy? What do I need? Do I want to sleep? When you get there, I always say, don't stand if you can sit. Don't sit if you can lay down. You want to not waste time.
Cool.
I think 3 is also related. I'm sorry, they're all the same.
Oh, it's
Of
okay.
course, you want,
Yeah.
no, but let's just say 3, you want to make sure your bike is in good shape.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if you have mechanical shifting, just replace all the cable. It's
Okay.
not a lot of money, but if a cable breaks, you can continue, but
It's
it will
yeah.
impact your experience. So just
Yeah.
like, before you go to PvP, it's, you're spending so much money and effort, time on getting there,
Yeah.
airplane flight, training, all that. Um, don't skimp on your bike.
Cool. Yeah, and 3 great tips that guarantee a finish.
I
Each
think
you,
there's a fourth tip
yeah.
though.
Oh, there's 4th tip? Okay,
Yeah,
let's
have
go for
fun.
it. Okay, have fun. Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're right. Don't feel any stress
Yeah.
to do anything or so. PvP is yours and only
Yeah.
yours. So do what you want to do. There's no, it's not like a race where people say, oh, you won or you didn't win.
Yeah.
PvP, the only difference is finishing or not.
Makes sense. Makes sense. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3.
Oh gosh, I did a video on this where I
Okay.
did like my top 10 tips, but
Okay.
just some things to keep in mind. I think one is that finishing PvP is not about being the fastest rider or the strongest rider. There are plenty of fast and strong people who will never finish that ride, uh, uh, because so much of it is just knowing how to do it and being in that mindset of finishing the ride. Um, it's more than half mental, in my opinion. It's maybe 3/4 or more of it is just
Yeah.
being mentally prepared, having the knowledge, which is why I did my video series, and just knowing what you're doing,
Okay. So
far
that's
more than
yeah.
training.
That was tip number 1. You started very strong, by the way. I like that one a lot.
I make a big deal in my videos about time and keeping track of time off the bike, because every time you stop and you get off the bike, clock is ticking and you're not going anywhere. So you have to make that time pay for itself. You have to make it worth it. So if you're going to a control, figure out what you're going to do. And again, that's where the second time, once you've been to the controls, you know where you park the bikes over here, you know where the restrooms are over there, you know where the food is, whatever. Part of the first one is just figuring all that stuff out. You waste a lot of time just like wandering around trying to find where everything is.
Yeah.
But staying on the bike My friend Peter, the guy who taught me a lot of what I know about it, we call it rest stop management.
Yeah.
And just staying on the bike, constant forward motion, and just staying on the bike. Even if you're not going very fast, just get on the bike and keep on going. Don't sit there and lament how tired you feel. Get back on the bike and grouse about how tired you feel.
Yeah.
But keep on going.
Yeah, so true. Okay, that was number 2. Another strong one, Eric. This is good. At this point, they're almost guaranteed to finish.
And I would say, in terms of equipment choice, I think the most important thing is just finding a comfortable bike. There's plenty of light bikes, and I think more and more every year you see people riding PBP on bikes that, to me, just look ridiculous. There's something that look like they're trying to race the stage of the Tour de France on these bikes.
Yeah.
I think far more important than having a light bike or the most recent components or whatever is having a comfortable bike that you've ridden on a lot, that you can sit on for a long time. So it's saddle choice and position on the bike, getting your shoes, your shorts, all the things that combine, the bike, the contact points, getting all that stuff nailed down so that you can sit on that bike for a long time and still feel comfortable.
Perfect.
I think that's a very big thing.
Eric, 3 excellent tips. Thank you so much. And personally, again, I really want to thank you for all the videos you've made. You've helped so many people. You've certainly helped me, and hopefully we'll see a lot more videos in the future. But thank you again, okay?
So, my first tip would be let experience train you up more than the physical part of riding PBP. And what I mean by that is you gain a lot of wisdom from doing long rides, and you gain a lot of wisdom from learning to manage how a lack of sleep affects your riding. And I think for people that understand that paradox between the faster riders who actually have more time to sleep if they choose to, versus the kind of middle of the pack riders and slower riders that I consider myself, that paradox is very tough. And there are a lot of people who can get by without much sleep. I really like 5 hours. I can get by on less, but that for me is a sweet spot. In order to do that, you have to ride a little faster. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean your speed needs to be faster. You need to be very wise about how you use your control times. And so the wisdom of learning to ride, say, a 1000K or a 1200K before PBP, even though that's not part of the minimum calls, I really would highly recommend that you get that seasonedness that comes from that experience if PBP is going to be your big ride, right? So I'd highly recommend at least a 1000K, preferably a 1200K, just to get used to what that distance feels like. And if you've never done longer than a 600K, it's not twice as hard. It's only a little bit harder. It actually gets easier on day 3 and 4, in my opinion. That was my experience. You're fatigued and you are tired, but it's you learn mentally what's going on in your brain and how to counteract that. For me, it was caffeine pills. I absolutely hate them. And the first time I took them, I got these horrible stomach aches. Well, by the time I had done my 600K that I rode without sleeping through, I knew that was going to be a tough problem. So I actually made myself take, I set a timer, and then I took in pill boxes my caffeine pill, and I took an antacid with it too, like a Tums. And I kept taking those together every 4 hours just to get through the wee hours of the night from like 1 a.m. till about 7 a.m. So usually 2 would be enough, 2 about every 4 hours, whatever works for you. But that's what you need to do. So that's going to give you a higher value experience from my perspective.
Perfect.
You learn to manage the sleep by doing a long ride. Okay.
Perfect.
Number 2, and we touched on this already, but I think if you can get there as soon as you can afford it and stay in Rembier and be there, I would say at least 5 days. Don't ride. I'd say give yourself 7 days off a bike. You've been training hard, and you're not going to gain any more fitness from training those last extra days. That in the scheme of it all, it means nothing. What you really want are fully rested muscles. Everything's limber and loose. And I think I think that that's one of the keys to having a really, really great ride. You just feel so fresh. And this is from someone who rides a lot of miles. And I know that difference. And I think it just makes a big difference for a lot of people. And then decide where you want to stop. Don't make any of your plans ironclad. The hotel, in the scheme of it all, I kind of forgot about the motel because it didn't really work out. The best part about it, frankly, was the bath, the shower that I took. And that's nice. That's an aspect to it too that I really enjoyed. But before you get to a control, decide what are the things that you need to do and kind of number them in your brain. And then also decide how much time am I going to spend here? It's hard to do any control unless you're just getting your card stamped. You're going to need a minimum of about 20 minutes at most stops. It's hard to get out of there for anything less. So if it's getting you time stamp and water and hopefully some snacks, you're probably going to be there a half hour, but try to set a goal in mind and get the steps written down so that you check all the boxes. You hear stories of riders that leave a control with empty water bottles all the time, because they didn't take those steps. So that's a good idea. Do your socializing while you're riding if possible. You're going to find people that at every control, and you're going to want to hug each other and say, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You're eating up some time there.
Yeah.
And then my last tip, again, is the sleeping bag thing. And this is probably silly for a lot of people. It may not be useful. And, if it happens to be raining, and lots of times in PBP, it is raining. But if you can get under something, and there's a lot of things you can get under in PBP, and people, I've been told by others during rainy PBPs and stuff like that, there's a lot more people that, they've got a barn nearby and they've got a light on in there and they're catering to riders and serving you, coffee and such like that. So you'll get a lot of help. But I think the sleeping bag idea, if sleep is a problem, and it's not for everybody. In retrospect, with this PBP, it was so warm. I saw another tactic I thought would have been brilliant if I had thought about it at the time. On the time I was riding catch up, I saw during the daytime a lot of people who were sleeping under a tree in broad daylight. And all they did was take off their shoes because the weather was so nice. You didn't need to be covered up. And I thought, that's another strategy that could work too. If you can sleep in daylight and the weather happens to be comfortable, stop near the road somewhere and just lay down and rest, but make yourself comfortable enough. Again, set an alarm just in case you don't go over. And the last little tip I love from an old rando friend of mine, Ken Johnson, point your bike in the direction that you want to ride in when you wake up.
That's
it's
interesting.
Huge. People have gone the wrong way before.
That's very fun. I have not heard that tip. That's a really good one.
It's a good one.
Yeah, Drew, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. And thank you for all your insight and everything. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a lot of fun, Curly. I look forward to Peter. I'm looking forward to seeing more of these, and I'm going to go back and look through some of the others from some of my friends. It's a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it.
Perfect. See you soon then. Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
I got you. Cool. So, Kevin, we're going to end with your 3 tips that guarantee a finish. We're going to go 1, 2, and 3.
Sure. I actually wrote them down here. So, tip number 1. Have a plan. It doesn't have to be a spreadsheet, but know generally what you're going to do. And then don't let others dictate modifications to that, right? Sometimes you decide you want to ride with a bunch of people. That might be great, but they're going to ride too fast. They're going to ride too slow. Just ride your own ride, and follow the plan you set out, because you've already envisioned that's going to get you to success. If you want to succeed, do what you originally set out. The other one, keep moving, right? I'm slow, very, very slow, but I'm successful because I just keep moving. I'm always moving. People fly past me. I see them in the control, and then later they fly past me again, and I see them in the control, and then they fly past. It's because I'm just efficient in the control. I just keep moving, right? I calculated once, if I took a camera with me and stopped to take one picture that took 1 minute every hour on the PBP, that's an hour and a half of time.
Amazing. Yes.
I finished with an hour and a half, right?
Yeah.
That would have.
So that's why there's no photos of the event. Okay, but that's fine.
That's right. And the other thing is, especially for PBP, interact with the locals. I mean, long after the ride, you're going to remember that much more than you're going to remember your finishing time. Or, I mean, I had to look up the finishing time when you asked me. I didn't know. I knew it was somewhere towards the end, right?
Yeah.
But those interactions with the people are going to be something that's going to stick with you forever.
Oh, that's cool. Well, Kevin, it's been an absolute pleasure. Really, really insightful. It's so good to hear from someone who DNF'd and then completed PBP and then was able to successfully extricate themselves from PBP and run-to-hearing. So nice work, okay?
I'm sure it's been fun visiting the old memories.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.